Unit 1, Chapter 1, Lecture, The Population.
Today we're going to talk about population in the United States. According to the most recent government census, the population is 281,421,906 people. Now, this represents an increase of almost 33 million people since the 1990 census. A population of over 281 million makes the United States the third most populous country in the whole world. As you probably know, the People's Republic of China is the most populous country in the world. But do you know which is the second most populous? Well, if you thought India, you were right. The fourth, fifth, and sixth most populous countries are Indonesia, Brazil, and Pakistan. Now, let's get back to the United States. Let's look at the total U.S. population figure of 281 million in three different ways. The first way is by race and origin. The second is by geographical distribution, or by where people live. And the third way is by the age and sex of the population. First of all, let's take a look at the population by race and origin. The latest U.S. Census reports that 75.1% of the population is white, whereas 12.3% is black. 3% are of Asian origin, and 1% is Native American. 2.4% of the population is a mixture of two or more races, and 5.5% report themselves as of some other race. Let's make sure your figures are right, okay? White, 75.1%, black, 12.3%, Asian, 3%, Native American, 1%. A mixture of two or more races, 2.4%, and of some other race, 5.5%. Hispanics, whose origins lie in Spanish-speaking countries, comprise whites, blacks, and Native Americans, so they are already included in the above figures. It is important to note that Hispanics make up 12.5% of the present U.S. population, however. Finally, the census tells us that 31 million people in the United States were born in another country. Of the 31 million foreign-born, the largest part, 27.6%, are from Mexico. The next largest group from the Philippines, number 4.3%. Another way of looking at the population is by geographical distribution. Do you have any idea which states are the 5 most populous in the United States? Well, I'll help you out there. The 5 most populous states with population figures are California, with almost 34 million, New York with 21 million, Texas with 19 million, and Florida with 16 million. And then there's Illinois with 12.5 million people. Did you get all those figures down? Well, if not, I'm going to give you a chance later to check your figures. Well then, let's move on. All told, over half, or some 58% of the population, live in the South and in the West of the United States. This figure, 58%, is surprising to many people. It's surprising because the East is the more densely populated. Nevertheless, there are more people altogether in the South and West. To understand this seeming contradiction, one need only consider the relatively larger size of many southern and western states. So, although there are more people, they are distributed over a larger area. To finish up this section on geographical distribution, consider that more than 3/4 of the people live in metropolitan areas like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and Houston. And that means that only 20%, or 2 out of 10 people, live in rural areas. An interesting side note is that some 3,800,000 U.S. citizens live abroad, that is, in foreign countries. Before we finish today, I want to discuss the distribution of the U.S. population in terms of age and sex. Just for interest, would you say that there are more men or more women in the United States? Well, according to the 2000 census, there are more women. In fact, there are more than 5 million more women than men in the U.S. population. If we consider that more males than females are born each year, how can this difference be explained? Well, for a variety of complicated reasons that we can't go into here, there is a progressively higher death rate for males as they get older. This is seen in 2003 life expectancy figures. The life expectancy for women is 80.4 years, whereas for men, it is only 74.5 years. I don't know how these life expectancy figures compare to those in your countries, but statistically, women generally live longer than men worldwide. Now, to finish up, let's look at the average age of the whole population. Overall, the average age of the population is increasing from 33.1 years in 1990 to 35.3 years in 2000. The average age has been slowly but steadily increasing over the past several decades. And this trend toward a higher average age can be explained by a decreasing birth rate and an increasing life expectancy for the population as a whole. Well, I'd like to investigate these two subjects further, but I see our time is up, so we'll have to call it quits for today. You may want to pursue the topic of the aging U.S. population further, so there are some suggestions at the end of the lesson to help you do so. Thank you.